we have picked up 4 important topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express. Before we begin the 4 topics and the understanding of these 4 topics, let us go through a motivational quote so that you are motivated enough to understand the 4 topics that we shall be discussing and overall motivated enough to clear the examination as well. Right. So, what is today's motivational quote? A negative mind will never give you a positive life. This quote highlights the importance of staying positive in life. It's very important to stay positive in life, to see the positivity around you, because unfortunately we are surrounded by many negative things, and amidst all the negative things it's important to have a positive mind, because positive mind will help you innovate or come up with better ideas, better solution. It won't allow you to crib. It will push you to find solution, innovative ideas. That's the reason having a positive mindset is very, very important. I hope you'll be positive here on. So, moving on, as you all know that we are going to soon launch 1 year and 2 year prelims cum mains integrated program. All those students who are interested can simply scan the QR code available on your screen, right, and fill in the required details. Our team shall get back to you, right. So these are the 4 topics that we shall be discussing. The first topic is taken from Hindu, page number 6. Now this article talks about the shifting global order, right. Now the post colonial order, right, the world witnessed the coming up of the coming of the institutions like World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund, and these institutions were backed or were guided by rules. But these days we are seeing that power politics is influencing the working of these institutions, and given the power is playing a central role which is bypassing the rules, it is important to understand the shifting global order and how India can strategize, make plans so as to suit the changing conditions. This is the first topic. The second topic is taken from Hindu, page number 5. This article talks about how the development of port will boost the economy, reduce dependence on the foreign ports, and how overall it gives so many jobs to people, as well as it will boost the local economy. The third article is taken from Indian Express, page number 13. Now, given the role of Pakistan in so many terrorist attacks in India, right, India has urged the multilateral development organizations, institutions like WTO, IMF, World Bank to stop funding or providing aid to Pakistan. The fourth article is taken from Indian Express, page number 15. Now, this article talks about the water sharing dispute between Punjab and Haryana. So, what exactly is the issue? We shall understand in the fourth topic. So, let us begin with the first topic. The title is a profound shift in the global order, right? Now, in this article, we shall, try to understand the shifting global order and how India can uh, strategize to fit in the shifting global order. And this you can map with GS paper 2. Under GS paper 2 we have international relations. Under IR we have a subtopic effect of policies and politics of developed countries on the developing countries like India. Now, why do we understand, or why it is important to study such topics? Because of its relevance in the examination. Like in the year 16, a question was asked on WTO. That's the reason it is important too, because we are going to mention about WTO in the article. So, given the changing global order or shift in the global order system, that is after the colonial rule, that is, let's say, post the 1950s until the, let's say, the 1990s. Now, earlier the countries worked together. How? Through discussions, through rules. But now the power is shifting through force and national interest. First, the rules, or let's say the discussions, were dominating the functioning of the international organizations, international institutions. But now you see how force, or for that matter, politics, force, the power is shifting. How? Through force and national interest. Power is shifting how? Through force and national interest. Depending on the national interest, the countries are bypassing the rules. Countries are bypassing the rules, and this is actually raising a question mark on the relevance of the international institutions. So, as you know, big global groups like we have the World Trade Organization, the G7 grouping, they are becoming less and less powerful. And as these global institutions are becoming less and less powerful, India needs to rethink its global strategy. It is very important for India to rethink its global strategy. Right? So, given the changing shift in global order, it is important to redefine its global strategy. This is the context. I hope you understood the context. Anyone who hasn't understood the context, please ask me in the comment section. Okay. Now, decline, first dimension that we need to understand is the decline of the post-colonial global order, the obsolescence of donor-recipient model. Obsolescence, that is losing the relevance. See, the old idea of rich countries who are referred to as donors, helping poor countries, the recipient countries, is no longer valid. Earlier, you see, the Western countries, they gave aid and support to developing nations like India, let's say Bangladesh, Pakistan, but now countries like China, who were earlier the recipient, have now become the donor. Even India has become a donor because India also, helps many countries. So countries like China and India are becoming more and more powerful to give aid and, let's say, lead in the global trade and manufacturing. Especially when it comes to global trade and manufacturing, China is gradually replacing the Western countries. And this, the rising, or the way China has rising, is actually challenging the old power structure dominated by the Western countries. The second is erosion of the multilateral institutions. Now, the global organizations like the World Trade Organizations and the United Nations, right? They are becoming less and less powerful as the big countries are ignoring or simply leaving them. For example, US is least bothered about how these countries are functioning. So the multilateral institutions were meant to ensure that all countries follow common rules. This was the objective of the multilateral institutions. But now the powerful countries like China, USA are choosing to act alone without respecting or adhering the rules. And this, the way the Western countries or powerful countries are, bypassing the rules, not respecting rules, this is actually influencing or reducing the relevance of the global institutions like the WTO and United Nations. First, for any issue or problem, countries used to approach these institutions. Given they are losing relevance, countries might stop approaching these institutions, and may act on their very own. The next is fragmentation of the G7 grouping. See, the unity of the G7 grouping is, it's creating a leadership gap in world politics. If I talk about G7, which once led the group on economic and the political issues, is now divided. Now, given that countries in the G7 are divided, this actually allows new groups like BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to become more and more active and influential in setting the global agendas. Next, emergence of a multipolar world order. Now, what is multipolar world order? See, talking about Asia's resurgence. Now, Asia is regaining, because if you see in the ancient phase, Asia was a very dominant, region. But post, since the past 2 to 300 years, especially post the Industrial Revolution, the Western countries rose. But now we see that countries in Asia are rising back again. Asia is regaining the old importance and is expected to hold about two-thirds of the world's wealth and power. Two-thirds of the world's wealth and power. Countries like China, India, then we have Japan, South Korea. So before colonial times, Asia had a major share in the global trade. Now this dominance is coming back, which is a good thing. Rise of regional powers. Countries like, let's say, Russia are building stronger relations with Asia, which actually increases their global influence. So instead of only Western countries having the global power as it was, or as how it was until now, different countries from various regions, especially in Asia, are becoming powerful players. This creates a world with multiple strong centers, multiple strong centers. This is what we understand by the term multipolar, which means the power influence is not, invested in only one country. More and more countries are wielding global power and global influence. India's economic rise. Now, talking about India, if you say India, India is on track to become the third largest economy. And definitely, India will have a very, very important role in shaping the world politics in shape, which means the world politics. India will have a role, say, in the world politics. Why? Because India, you see, is growing economically. It will have more say in international decisions and systems. And this gives India a chance to influence how the world functions. Why? Because if you're powerful, the countries will listen to you. And if you're not powerful, the countries would not listen to you. Simple. The next, India's strategic imperatives. So, what are the things India has to do given the world order is changing? One, to leverage the decline of World Trade Organization. Now, as WTO is losing power, India can now make trade rules that can suit its own needs and development plans. If you see, the WTO used to enforce common trade rules for all the countries, be it developed countries or developing countries. Now, as that influences, reducing, shrinking, India doesn't have to strictly follow those old rules and now can instead design policies that work better for its economy. For example, you see, whenever India provides more subsidies to farmers, the WTO takes a notice, sort of sends warning, but now India can frame rules that can meet or suit India's interests. Balancing major powers. Now, here India must carefully manage its ties with both the US, China, Russia. Why? So as to retain its independence in global matters. India should not, let's say, get into the fold of any major country. Instead of, let's say, taking sides, India needs a smart strategy, I would say. And what is this? And what is a smart strategy? That is to stay friendly with all the major powers while protecting your own interest. We should maintain good ties with China, let's say Russia, USA, Western countries, but we should ensure that we are protecting our own interest. Fostering, that is developing regional integration. Now, India can strengthen regional cooperation by suggesting ideas like, for example, the Asian Common Market. Asian, like we have the European market, like can also have the Asian Common Market. And how this is possible? By working more closely with other Asian countries like South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore. How? Through trade, through investment, through policies. India can help build a strong regional economy which can benefit everyone in the region. So this is what India should and can do. Next is redefining global trade and governance. You see, the global trade is making a quick shift. Innovating trade frameworks. Now here, India should push for new trade deals that include goods, services, investments, innovations. So this new trade deal should include goods, services, investments, infrastructure all together. Why? Because if you see, today's economies are complex and connected, isn't it? The trade deals, they need to go beyond goods and services and also cover areas like IT, information technology, investments, and even for that matter, digital networks. Digital networks, innovating trade frameworks. The next one, emphasizing technology over tariffs. Now, India should focus more on becoming strong in technology than just reducing or raising taxes on imports. The focus has to be on becoming strong in the field of technology. Why? Because see, modern the modern trade success, it depends more on technological advancement. Like we have artificial intelligence, then we have, let's say, digital platforms. So instead of relying on custom duties, we should focus more on the innovative or technological advancement, because leading in tech will help India become more competitive globally, not just in the region but in the entire world. Next, diplomatic leadership. Now, India's experienced diplomats should lead efforts to create fair international rules. The rules have to be fair, fair international rules. The rules should benefit each and every country that match today's world. So, the old systems of global governance no longer reflect the current balance of power, right? And for that matter, India should lead in creating a new system that is more equal and suited for the present times that we all are living. Learning from historical precedents, historical examples, reassessing non-alignment movement. Now see, the non-alignment movement was using when during the Cold War. Why? Because India was not powerful. But today's global situation requires India to follow a more active and strategic foreign policy than we used to have in the Cold War days. Why? Because earlier India stayed neutral when it comes to India stayed neutral between US and USSR. Now neutrality alone cannot work. India needs to take smart and flexible positions based on India's national interest. So we have to see which action, which decision may suit India. Depending on that, we have to be smart, we have to be flexible and take action that should help India's interest. Prioritizing economic development. Now, this is something very important. In the past, India focused more on political matters than on economic growth. And this actually reduced the global influence, India's global influence. Now it must focus on economic progress or economic development. Because please remember, political development without economic strength has limited India's power. And to rise globally, India must now give top priority to economic development so that India becomes more and more competitive globally, and this will help India to become the third or the second largest economy in the coming few years. Investing in innovation, very, very important. India should follow models where universities and industries work together. Why? So as to ensure there's technological growth and prosperity. So countries like the US and China have grown fast. How? They have linked education, research, industries. India needs to do the same to create breakthrough technology so that India can also innovate, because by innovating we are actually developing, creating more and more jobs which will only help India. Harnessing technological potential. Technological potential. Developing open source solutions. Now, what does this see? India should invest in open source software like artificial intelligence, and this helps India to become self-reliant and promote local innovation than to simply buy the innovation from outside. Because the open source tools are cheaper and allow more control. And this also helps India's reliance on foreign tech giants and build its own global power or own digital power. It's very important that India reduces its dependence on the foreign powers. For that, we have to invest in the open source platforms. Next is very, very important, that is building human capital. This is only possible through improving education and skills. We have to impart skills which will prepare Indian workers to succeed in the fast changing global economy. Because now if you see the new industries, they need new skills. And this is possible only when India trains the youth and workforce well. This is important. Why? Because in order to meet future job demands and let's say the economic demands, so as to boost the productivity, India has to focus on imparting skills, technical skills, so as to be in alignment with the needs of the industries. And then we have establishing global standards. Now, if India invests in education skills, India has a chance to become a tech leader so that India can help set international rules and standards in innovation. Why? Because only the successful people can make rules and innovations, or rather set rules. So if India, let's say in future, in coming few years, leads in areas like artificial intelligence and let's say digital technology, it can influence how the world shapes laws and the best practices. So finally, how do we move ahead? First, you have to formulate a national consensus. Now India needs agreement across all the political parties and states to carry out big economic and technological reforms. Because if you see, long term growth needs cooperation across the political spectrum. A shared vision across all the states will help India move forward without disruptions. Engaging with emerging economies. Now, this is again a very important way forward. India should strengthen partnership with especially the Southeast Asian countries, or let's say the African countries, to create new trade and cooperation opportunities. Why? Because these regions, the African regions, the Southeast Asian regions, are growing fast and will become major markets. And India can gain by building strong economic and diplomatic relations with these regions. And most importantly, whatever development we focus on has to be sustainable. That is, we cannot ignore the environment. By focusing on the economic development, care has to be taken so as to protect the environment as well. Why? Because balancing development with climate goals will ensure the development to be sustainable, and it also strengthens the global image of India as a responsible power. So this is how we need to move ahead. I hope you understood the first topic. Let us move on to the next topic. port economy will drive India's growth, says the Prime Minister. So here we'll understand how port infrastructure will lead to growth. So this can be linked to GS paper 3. In GS paper 3, we have infrastructure. So this topic is important. Why? Because questions on ports, port development have been asked as it was asked in the year 2016. So what is the context? Let us try to understand the context. See, now Prime Minister recently inaugurated Vizhinjam International Deepwater Multipurpose Port. This is located in Kerala. Now this Vizhinjam Port, International Deepwater Port, is India's first dedicated container transshipment port. Transshipment port. What is transshipment port? Where the cargo is transported from, let's say, one country, one region to other region. Now this development, this inauguration, this development marks a significant jump in the port infrastructure of our country, and also you see there are two words: port infrastructure plus the maritime economy. So with the development of port, yes, we are looking after the economic development. At the same time, we are also looking after the maritime, let's say, surveillance or maritime uh, security, isn't it? Now, this initiative reflects the government of India's continued focus on developing the ports in our country. Why? Because this enhances trade connectivity. It promotes private-public partnership in the strategic infrastructure projects. Now, strategic infrastructure projects are those projects which are important for economy as well as for your security. Now, given the location of the Vizhinjam port, which is located at the southern tip of our country, is very, very important for trade connectivity as well as for the security, to secure the maritime space. Alright, so this is the context. Let us try to understand how this port will, help our country economically as well as secure the maritime space. One is unique port capability. Now, talking of the unique port capability, this Vizhinjam is India's first port made specially for container transshipment. Container transshipment. What does it mean? It means that it can handle cargo, that is goods, that used to go through foreign ports. Which means the Indian goods which had to be sent to outside market, we had to send these goods to major ports like Colombo, Singapore, Dubai, but now there is no need. Earlier we had to depend on the foreign ports to manage large container shipments. But now the development of Vizhinjam changes that by becoming a direct handling point for the large containers. So now the large containers can come at this port to transport the goods from one place to other. The next is natural deep draft advantage. Now the most important advantage of this port is it has a water depth of about 20 meters. 20 meters, yes, it has a depth of 20 meters, which means it can host very large container ships without regular dredging. Dredging that is removal of silt, right? You sort of, the silt gets deposited, the sand, the mud. So it is because it is deep, you do not have to invest in the dredging, which means this, the ports, now most ports, if you see, they need dredging. Why? To stay deep enough for big ships. But Vizhinjam, given that it is deep, it does not require that, which means it requires lower maintenance cost. The next is strategic location, very important. Now this port is just 10 nautical miles away from the major international east and west shipping route. The point that connects the eastern nations and western nations, this one is just 10 nautical miles away from the major shipping route, which means it makes it perfect for the global shipping constructions. And as it is very close to the major sea routes, ships can easily stop here, which reduces the travel time and most importantly the cost. Global trade efficiency. Now this port will allow the cargo to come directly to India, improving the speed of shipping, reducing the transport cost and helping the Indian exports compete better, isn't it? Why? Because if you see, faster and cheaper cargo handling gives Indian products an edge in global markets. How? By making them reach international buyers more quickly and at lower cost, as how China does. The next one is maritime economy as a growth engine. Now see, vision for port-led growth. The government of India, they see the ports as key to making India a developed nation, right? So they see ports as a key to making India a developed nation, especially by helping the coastal states like we have Karnataka, we have Kerala, Tamil Nadu grow better. How? Through connectivity and logistics. So strong ports can make coastal areas major trade and business hubs, and this supports the national economic growth, isn't it? Next, ease of doing business. Now see, to make trade smoother, easy, the government is focusing on digitization to simplify the rules, simplify the process, to ease the rules and to focus on integrated logistics. For example, we have, let's say, programs like Gati Shakti, Gati Shakti, or let's say Sagarmala project. These are port-led development initiatives undertaken by the government, which means digital tools and faster process means the businesses and the import export goods, they move more easily and at lower cost, which benefits the businesses, which means it will boost the Indian economy as well, right? Then export promotion and the coastal economic zones. So if we talk about the export promotion, this port is expected to lead to the development of the coastal economic zones. This will promote manufacturing, storage and most importantly trade services near the coast, and this will actually help the exports grow. See, the coastal economic zones are special zones which are constructed near the ports. It makes it easier to produce and ship goods. It also will boost the exports. It will help the businesses. This will, further push or boost the growth of the nation. Employment and skill boost, which means this port will create many jobs directly at the port and indirectly in related areas like we have, let's say, storage, then we have marine services, then we have transport. So this new infrastructure, it brings both the skilled and unskilled jobs, especially in services that support the, let's say, the port operations. Next is the role of public-private partnerships in infrastructure transformation. Now, talking about the role of Adani. This built, right? Hello. Sorry. So this Visinjam port, right? It was built through public-private partnership, which means the government, it was a public-private partnership between the Adani port and the government of Kerala. It shows how the private companies can add efficiency and innovation. So the government of India has shown that by involving private firms, the project use their resources and expertise to complete work faster and more efficiently. So this is the advantage of roping in the private institutions, isn't it? The PPP investment model, that is public-private model. See, over the last 10 years, huge investments through PPPs have helped upgrade the Indian ports with modern tech and future-ready features. So the PPP investments have improved the quality and capacity of ports. How? By bringing in new technology and better planning, isn't it? Efficiency and innovation. Talking about efficiency and innovation, the private involvement has led to the use of advanced infrastructure, quick project completion, and let's say better logistics at ports. So these companies, right, they bring innovation and speed, which the government projects sometimes lack. Why? Because of the corruption, or let's say the bureaucratic delays. Model for future project, which means this PPP model, the success of the Visinjam port is expected to encourage similar big infrastructure projects where there is cooperation between private and public. This will help India's ports and industries to grow. So if this PPP model works and grows, it will be used for future infrastructure projects. I hope you understood the second topic. Now let us move on to the third topic. India to raise concerns against Pakistan Pak funding with all the multilateral development banks, says the officials. So you will understand about the multilateral development banks, right? And you can map this under means as well as prelims under important institutions. So question on multilateral development bank was asked in the year 2016. Let us try to understand the context. Okay, so we know that recently, right, an attack in Pahalgam led to the death of close to 25 Indian tourists. We know that Pakistan was involved in this, brutal and very horrific terrorist attack, right? And in response, India has initiated strong diplomatic and financial measures to isolate Pakistan globally, or let's say to restrict, curb the terror funding. Now, of all the responses, one of the key response was to, request, urge the multilateral development banks. Multilateral development banks like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Asian Development Bank. So we have requested these, multilateral development banks to review and reconsider their financial aid to Pakistan. Why? Because Pakistan, the money that these institutions are giving to Pakistan, Pakistan is actually using to harbor terrorists. So this is the context. So let us try to understand the multilateral development banks. They are international financial institutions. They are international financial institutions created by multiple countries. It's not one country, multiple countries. Why? To promote economic development, right? Now this means that these MDBs, They provide loans, grants, technical assistance, policy advice for infrastructure, poverty reduction, education, health and governance projects. So, which means these development banks, they help whom? The developing and low income countries. Developing countries like India, low income countries, let's say like Pakistan. Now, key features, they are owned by multiple countries, right? Long-term development focus. The projects are financed in energy, transport, water, health, education. Non-commercial motives. Aim is to not benefit, reduce poverty, foster regional cooperation and inclusive growth. Low interest or concessional. The loans that are given by these bodies are offered at very low interest rate. Global and regional roles. Some operate worldwide, others focus on specific continents. Now, which are the multilateral development institutions? So, this World Bank Group. So, you can please download the DNA notes from the description, link given in the description box, and please go through the multilateral development banks, right? Now, see, what is the implication? Now, the money that these institutions are giving to Pakistan, Pakistan is actually misusing it. And what if these institutions stop funding Pakistan money? Pakistan, one, cannot, support the terrorist groups, which means the terrorist groups won't have money, because in order to, let's say, carry out a terrorist operation, you need lots of money. Why? Because money is required to buy weapons, money is required to buy to offer training, to provide training to the prospective terrorists. So, if we curb the flow of money, then Pakistan cannot use the money to, let's say, harbor terrorists. This essentially means that Pakistan won't have money. No money even for development. There will be more poverty, there will be more crisis. So, in order to push Pakistan, say, let's say, if people are not getting health, education, people are going to protest. The government will be under pressure. So, these institutions can influence the behavior of Pakistan by restricting the financial aid to Pakistan. So, this is the implication that can be if these institutions stop providing funds or aid to Pakistan. This is what the third article was all about. Now, let us move on to the fourth topic. What is the fourth topic? The water sharing dispute between Punjab and Haryana. So, let us try to understand. So, questions have been asked, right? So, question was asked in the 2021, right? So, let us try to understand what the topic. See, I'll try to understand the topic, right? See, what is the context first? This topic, this article explains the long-standing water sharing conflict between two states. One is Punjab and Haryana. Punjab and Haryana. So, the topic, the article is focusing on Punjab's latest refusal to share more water with Haryana, especially through the incomplete Satluj Yamuna link. Satluj Yamuna link canal. The article also, talks about how the Bhakra Nangal dam system right, and the river water distribution are central to this issue which is going on since decades. So, this is an issue between Punjab and Haryana. Now, let us try to understand the origin of the dispute. Now, this issue dates back to the reorganization of Punjab, which means when Punjab was divided in the year 1966. So, Punjab was divided in 1966 and then the state of Haryana came out. But Punjab kept control of the rivers and, let's say, water infrastructure when Haryana separated out from Punjab. Now, Haryana, being a new agriculture trade, it required water for agriculture. It demanded the share of water from the two rivers, one Ravi and the second one was Bias River. But since these rivers were already being used by Punjab and Haryana had no direct access to them, a dispute began between the two states. Then talking about the Bhakra Nangal project and water control. See, the Bhakra Nangal project, It was a long, it's a large dam system built before Punjab was divided. It gave water and electricity to the entire northern region. But after the split in the year 1966, Punjab kept control of the canals and Haryana became dependent on Punjab to get water, which it saw as unfair. Now, even though both states need the water, Punjab's control over the system meant Haryana couldn't access its share easily. And this actually led to more and more conflict. Now, if we talk about the, river water allocation and the Satluj Yamuna link canal. So, to solve the issue, in the year 1976, the central government gave or decided to give 3.5 million, acre feet of Ravi Bias water to Haryana. So, here the central government decided the water has to be given to Haryana. Now, to carry this, it proposed the Satluj Yamuna link canal linking the Satluj river in Punjab to Haryana's Yamuna. Satluj in Punjab, Yamuna in Haryana. So, of this canal, Haryana built its part of the canal in the year 1980s, but Punjab did not finish its side. Why? Because it said that there is no water, or let's say there is some political dispute. So, the Satluj Yamuna link canal was supposed to be the solution, but it got stuck. Why? Because Punjab refused to build its portion. Now, Punjab says it does not have extra water to share. Why? Because due to overuse of groundwater and rising water needs, it is facing a water crisis. Punjab also says that, the 1976 water allocation, where the central government decided to give water to Haryana, was unfair. Why? Because it ignored the demands of Punjab. Why? Because now the government of Punjab says that people in Punjab, especially farmers, they are strongly opposed the giving of water to Haryana. Punjab fears losing control of its waters and worsening its own water crisis if shared or if there is more water demand in future. And what is Haryana state's demand? Haryana says that it is being denied its legal share of river water, even though the center had actually allocated it and the Supreme Court had also supported the decision of the center. Haryana wants Punjab to complete the Satluj Yamuna link canal and let its share of water flow. So this is how it is. I hope you understand that. Now see, talking of the Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court has ordered Punjab many times to finish the canal. But Punjab Assembly passed laws to stop it and leaders continue to resist. Why? Because Punjab does not want to give water to Haryana. The central government has tried to settle the issue, but ultimately it has to be the two states that has to find the solution. So even though the court has given clear decisions, there is political resistance in Punjab that is actually restricting the flow of water. Now please remember that this isn't just a canal issue, the Satluj Yamuna canal, no. It reflects a bigger problem like water security, the federal cooperation and control over natural resources. Both Punjab and Haryana are running low on groundwater and future farming depends on, let's say, the fair water sharing, right? So if the canal remains unfinished, if the canal is not completed, trust and cooperation between the two states and across India will keep weakening, which is not good for the nation. See, water, if you see, is becoming a very, very serious issue in many parts of India, not only India, but many parts of the world. And how this case is handled could set an example for other states like, let's say, we have Karnataka and Tamil Nadu facing similar such water issue problem. So how we handle this situation or case will actually set an example to the other states or other solving or other areas where there's a problem between two or more states. So this was the article. Though this one, now see, if you look at this topic, right, these are few factual things, factual facts that you can read by your own. There's nothing much to explain over here, so you can read by your own. Now, if I talk about constitutional legal. Water is a state subject, but when water is flowing from one state to other, it falls under the central list. Interstate rivers and disputes are governed by entry 56 under the union list. And when there is a dispute, it is looked after by the Interstate River Water Dispute Act. Now, please remember the Bhakra Bias Management Board. This management board is a special body governed under the Punjab Reorganization Act and not through the 1956 Interstate Water Dispute Act. So, whenever there is a dispute between two states, right, this act, Interstate Water Dispute Act, it facilitates the solution. But when it comes to the solution between these two states, the Bhakra Bias Management Board was created not under this act but under a special law, which actually led to the division of Punjab into Punjab and Haryana. So these are the 4 topics of the day. I hope you understood all the topics that we discussed. Now let's go through few questions. First question, India must recalibrate its global engagement strategy to align with its evolving multipolar world order. Discuss the challenges and opportunities for India in this context. First, in the introduction, you have to mention how the global world order is shifting, changing, how the world, the multilateral institutions, or how the influence of these institutions is coming down or reducing. Why? Because the powerful nations are taking the decisions unilaterally. Power is shaped through force and national interest rather by common rules set. Then in the body of the answer, you can mention the challenges, decline of multilateral institutions. These are the points that we discussed, challenges, opportunities, and then finally way forward. These points we already discussed while we discussed the first point. We have discussed each and every point. So you can attempt to write the answer for this question. And if you have written the answer, you can also post it in the comment section. Now, these are the questions based on today's topic. So, I want you to, attempt these questions and post the answer in the comment section. Now, these are the questions based out of topics that we discussed yesterday. So, first statement is regarding Vienna Convention. So, it is considered the treaty on treaties and governs how treaties are made. Yes. Exactly. India is signatory. No, India is not signatory, but India actually follows or recognizes the provisions under the Vienna Convention. Article 62 of the convention allows a treaty to be suspended due to fundament. Exactly. This is what we discussed. The convention applies to both written and it applies only to written treaties and not oral treaties. So, the fourth statement and second is incorrect. 1 and 3, option B is the correct answer. The term orange economy is seen in news. It refers to very simple economy based on creativity, culture and intellectual property. The third topic about the maritime domain awareness was launched by Quad Grouping, yes, to enhance real-time monitoring of maritime activities across the Indo-Pacific. Yes, the initiative aims to integrate surveillance capabilities of only Pacific islands and South. So when it is mentioned only, which means there's some gadbad. So here the initiative aims to integrate the surveillance capabilities of 3 regions. One, Pacific Islands, the second is Southeast Asia, third one is the Indian Ocean region. So second is incorrect, first one is correct. Right, so this brings us to the end of today's DNA. I request you to please, answer the questions asked before, post the answer in the comment section, right? And I hope you understood all the topics that we have discussed for today. Make sure all your other friends are also watching the DNA so that they can also benefit the topics that we discuss as part of daily analysis, right? So on this note, I'll call it a wrap. Before we call it a wrap, I request you please hit the like, subscribe and share icon. Thank you so much for watching.